Hi, and welcome to our presentation on enhancing collective teacher efficacy through improving teacher confidence.
As we began to review the literature available in regards to collective teacher efficacy, we found that there was quite a large variety of literature available. It's a heavily studied topic. One of the discouraging features of collective teacher efficacy at the outset was that it is directly tied to school structure, the age level of students, and SES status. In other words, if children are younger, there is a strong correlation with strong collective teacher efficacy. The SES status of a school, if that is higher, there is a stronger collective teacher efficacy. So schools that might be considered Title I or in areas in which poverty is more prevalent, they often experience lower levels of CTE. And that was discouraging at first, but as we continued to look and think about this topic, we found that some research was done that showed that when schools do have a high CTE, teachers have a more willingness to take risks. They're more willing to try new ideas, and they're more willing to gather parents as partners and help parents believe that they can and will make a difference with their children in this area. So we consulted some more research and found that when you control items such as the structure, the age level, and SES, in other words, when you take those and you make them so that they are not a variable in your analyses, we found that school social capital makes a huge difference. John Hattie is a researcher best known for his work in visible learning. He has reviewed many different research studies, completed some research himself, and completed meta-analyses of those findings. And he has identified the effect size for different strategies and interventions. And in his work, he identifies 0.4 as the amount of learning that a typical student achieves during a school year. And he has ranked different strategies and interventions around that 0.4 to where if it was lower than that, then it would be less effective, and higher than that, then it would show positive effect on students' learning. Collective teacher efficacy has an effect size of 1.57, so that we see that CTE has one of the strongest effects on student achievement. However, in the course of this study, we knew that we would be unable to positively impact collective teacher efficacy in a short amount of time, because that is something that is built over time and is developed over years. Therefore, to limit our scope, we looked at the different variables that make up collective teacher efficacy, and we have identified our purpose in our study as to improve student achievement through determining the most effective gauge for teacher confidence and how administration can assist in improving confidence levels. In the setting, we identified 2 research questions. Our first research question was, how do school leaders improve teacher confidence? And that was our qualitative portion, in which we knew that we needed to gather some information from teachers in a qualitative format to get some feedback informally from them before we began to develop our quantitative question. Our quantitative question, after that time spent in conversation with teachers, was, what beliefs do confident teachers identify as most likely to improve teacher confidence and impact students? Our hypothesis for this, we believe feedback from administration would have a large impact on teacher beliefs about their teaching and would therefore highly influence their confidence levels.
Methods, design, and participants. Our methods we used was a sequential exploratory mixed methods design, and we utilized in-person interviews and online questionnaires with our teacher participants. We conducted our interviews with teachers to gauge what they believe will increase their confidence levels in the classroom so administrators can help provide support and encouragement in those areas. Interview questions were developed by the researchers based on the research of Castillo-Montoya as well as Jacob and Ferguson, and were crafted to provide insight into the data collection needed for the quantitative section of the study. The questions were piloted to determine areas where probes were needed to collect sufficient information. We interviewed teachers we knew personally or worked with. We completed 3 interviews with an age range of the participants from late 20s up in the early 60s who had teaching experience from 5 to 15 years. As I said before, we interviewed teachers we already had relationships with, so trust had already been established. Teachers were reminded that they will be given a pseudonym, the responses will be transcribed by the interviewer, and the recordings destroyed once the study is complete. Teachers taking the questionnaire did not give any identifying details regarding personal information and could choose to not answer the questions regarding gender or education. Instruments. We used a 12-question interview and a 12-question online questionnaire. The in-person interview contained 12 questions with probes prepared based on anticipated follow-up needs, and the online survey consisted of 12 questions regarding teacher beliefs and how much control they have regarding their abilities to impact students in the classroom, which will be scored on a 9-point scale. Procedures. Interviews were recorded and transcribed with cell phones or other recording devices in person and transcribed into Word and then coded for further analysis. Online questionnaires were created in Google Forms, and the data auto-populated into Google Sheets, which we then transferred into SPSS for further analysis.
As part of our qualitative analysis, we interviewed several teachers at our respective educational contexts, and as part of the thematic analysis, we came up with several things that we noticed were in common. So those are listed here. One of the main things that the teachers talked about was desiring collaboration and interactions with their colleagues, as well as feedback from administration, strong content knowledge and pedagogical skills, classroom management. And then I listed another one here, that's student performance and feedback from students. We did not use this in our initial data analysis, but I used it here because of the connection you'll see in just a minute to the quantitative analysis. So in terms of the questionnaires, we were able to get 29 voluntary respondents. We created a Google form that we shared with different teachers. These teachers ranged in levels from elementary to high school, and even in experience from beginner to veteran. Beginner would be someone in the range of 0 to 5 years all the way up to 25 to 30 years of teaching. But the mean response fell between 6 and 15 years of teaching. And then we looked at the level of collective teacher efficacy based on the first survey or questionnaire that we gave. The lowest ranking that we saw in our survey was a 68, and then the highest was a 108, and that's a teacher who we considered extremely confident or extremely high in their confidence, because they ranked themselves as a 9 on all of those questions. So the question we had was, for the teachers who considered themselves confident, what beliefs did they have that would influence teacher confidence in either themselves or other teachers? There were 4 predominating beliefs of what they thought would improve their confidence. And the first thing we did was run a Pearson correlation test, the closer a number is to 1, the stronger the correlation. And these were the top 4 strong correlation pieces that we found. And this was the two-tailed test, and of course the lower the two-tailed result, the stronger the correlation. So therefore, the number one thing that the teacher suggested is that as their confidence increased, so did their beliefs that understanding students' perspectives or beliefs about their teaching also increased, and vice versa. The next was going to be developing strategies for reaching all learners. That connects to the pedagogical skills that was mentioned in the quantitative analysis. Then experiencing student success. And then lastly, the understanding outside factors that influence students was also something that would build teacher confidence. In conclusion, as I mentioned, reciprocal confidence is supported in previous studies where a confident teacher is going to lead to student achievement. And the more students achieve, the more confident a teacher is. And I think we would even witness this in our own professional practice. And while this echoes the beliefs of those interviewed, it actually is not the predominating belief in what they talked about. In fact, the most common belief of both the interviews and the questionnaires is that pedagogical skills matter and that they impact student learning. That's why the professional development matters and getting to know what strategies work for the students that you teach. So ultimately, confident teachers, and this is a conclusion based on our interviews and our questionnaire, and we try to draw out something that would be of usable value, but confident teachers seem to suggest that in order to build confidence, understanding students' beliefs about their own teaching, it actually matters. And so as professional leaders, maybe we should consider building the confidence in our teachers, knowing that confident teachers impact student learning, and we should do so by helping them build better relationships with their students and giving them the skills and tools necessary to meet their needs.